Yo, what's going on, OP family? It's about that time again for the Sogekami 1090 review for this chapter. It is called Kizaru. This week, I will discuss the most important themes and what I think will be the future for this arc. And so just everyone so you know, if you can please subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to put out all this great content talking about the chapters, talk about my thoughts, and I'm trying to get to as many subscribers. I'd love to be at 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So if you could just support me in that, help me get the word out, that will be much appreciated. Thank you all very much for even watching the video. I will start off my chapter review starting at the end, and I'll be addressing the controversy around Luffy being scared to fight. The truth of the matter is, from my opinion, it looks like Luffy was ready to leave the island without fighting. He said that to the Gorosei, and once Luffy felt that haki that was really high, he had to understand that he had to change his mind about what his plans were. Luffy wasn't aware that an admiral had arrived on the scene, so it's just shock from my perspective. This is a Kaido level opponent, so going from playing around, jumping up on the clouds to fighting made him just kind of had to serious up in that moment. And like, this is a moment where Luffy can't be joking around. So I totally understand that feeling. I don't think that he's scared to fight. I think that Luffy is just shocked that he has to fight now when he was fully prepared not to fight. So next, one of the biggest conversations about this chapter is this: is it Katarina Devon? Is it Robin? Is it Bonnie? To me, the person who looked the most sus this chapter was STUSSY. She was the person who was contacted incognito by Vegapunk, and she was also alone for a portion that we saw in this chapter. She could be making contact with Blackbeard, or if as people say, Devon. I am not the biggest fan of the idea of Devon masquerading as somebody. It would imply that she could get through the barrier with relative ease, and that just doesn't sit right with me. However, I do like the idea of STUSSY being a triple agent and working with the Blackbeard pirate, especially considered Blackbeard's relative relation to the Rocks pirates. It would be an interesting callback to Buckingham STUSSY with Rocks pirates as well. Next, I feel like the biggest information we got and most exciting thing is that Elbaf is our next destination. The Elbaf arc has been hinted at us since Little Garden. That's like chapters 120. That's before we even met Chopper. Usopp has already been playing a pretty backlined role since Wano, and it'd be nice to see something, involving him. It doesn't have to always all be about him, but he has to have some type of importance here. I'm hoping that we can learn about Yasopp in this arc as well, and Usopp can have some type of awakening. We haven't seen anything from his haki in a minute. We also know that Kid was defeated in Elbaf, so it is likely that once we go to Elbaf, we will see him return, possibly as a villain. Since we do know that his goal was to take down Emperor and Luffy is now an Emperor, this can cause some type of fragmentation between their bond and have this fight going on between them. Big Mom still has unfinished business in Elbaf, so if she was to make a return, it would be here. And we also could see someone like Lola or something like that make her way back into the story. This is also the last place I feel like we would be able to see Urouge make his way into the story. In the Wano arc, we also see a moment between Hawkins and Zoro where they talk about, if I had my slicers, I would have defeated you. So it'd be nice to see a full-powered killer versus a full-powered Zoro and see where that fight takes us. Although, Zoro would decimate him. We catch up with the Seraphim just to see that they're all in bubbles. Considering that Oda skipped all of their fights, it is safe for me to say that Oda is saving something important for the Seraphim. What it is, I don't know. Maybe he didn't want to show Zoro vs Mihawk so early. Also, considering Kaku said he was fighting two Seraphims, it's possible Zoro vs S-Hawk hasn't even happened yet, considering Zoro's tendency to get lost. It's completely possible we actually get to see Zoro vs S-Hawk in full before we leave Egghead, but at this point, they are sidelined. I personally feel like it would be a little boring if we don't really see what the Seraphim can do, and all the Seraphim are just locked behind bubbles for the rest of this arc. So I do expect them to get up. And lastly, Kizaru has made his way to the island and is currently facing Sentomaru. Kizaru stood his ground against Saturn, which is interesting. I used to think the Gorosei weren't the same as regular Celestial Dragons because they didn't wear the spacesuits, but the way Garcia referred to people as insects, he definitely has that Celestial Dragon blood in him. I think it's likely that next chapter in 1091, Sentomaru gets off-screened, and then we begin the battle with Luffy and Kizaru, but we probably don't see much from them. Maybe a slight clash, and that's it. But unfortunately, we have another break week next week, so it'll be a little bit of a long time before we see what happens next. In 1091, I expect to see how Sentomaru gets out of this situation, if Sentomaru ends up dead, or if there is some type of backhanded plan between Kizaru and Sentomaru. We do know that they have a rapport with each other, so maybe Kizaru has a different plan, or maybe Sentomaru just gets defeated, maybe even killed. In 1091, I expect to see what happens with Rob Lucci, if he's trying to betray the Straw Hats, or if he has some other type of ulterior motive. I hope to see his plan kind of start to unfold as to where his loyalties lie. Kaku seems to be out of the picture, but it would be nice to see some type of flashback, and I would like to see something with the revolutionaries. We haven't seen Kuma in a little while, so kind of a catch up on where Kuma is in terms of Mary Joa, and like what is he doing on the Red Line. It makes me think about, you know, that robot that they talked about 200 years, so they could tie that in together and tie that together with what maybe Bonnie saw in Bonnie's, you know, in Kuma's memories. That could all be something that we see in the next chapter. But for the most part, I'm just excited to see a new chapter at any point. So let me know what you guys think about this chapter, One Piece 1090. Any thoughts or concerns that come to your mind, and what do you think is going to happen next? This has been Soge Kami, out.